Welcome to the Mill and Sharma Show, a show that describes a variety of subjects through the lens of civil discourse. I'm your host, Millen, and today I'll be reviewing an article from the website titled psychologytruths.com. And the article is life lessons from Dostoevsky. I'll link the article in the description section below. For those of you who are unaware, Dostoevsky is a philosopher from centuries ago, and his ideas are very, very interesting and invaluable, in my opinion, and I'd like to share them with you. And for those of you who think philosophers are something that's just history in the past, I believe that despite advancements in technology, ideas are something we can always carry on in the present and in the future, despite it being from the past. So let's begin with Lesson 1. Embrace the freedom and adventure of faith. A masterpiece contained within Dostoevsky's The Grand Inquisitor. That's one of his articles, or books. Countless things may be said about this deep, complex tale. Still, one fundamental lesson is that following Christ is a call to spiritual adventure, not spiritual mediocrity. Now, he's talking about Christianity specifically, though I believe this lesson can remain true in all religions. If any religion that you follow, I believe this lesson remains true, because when you're following a religion or philosophy, you're following instructions in a book dated from hundreds of years ago that is your moral compass. So, for example, with Christianity, some lessons I think of immediately is forgiving others, being slow to anger, loving your enemies. These lessons are hard things in life, very hard. It's hard to take action with these because it's so easy to be self-consumed in your own well-being. But I believe that these lessons, though it's from the Bible, I believe everybody can benefit from. And I'm sure there's lessons in other religious books that others can benefit from. But when I think about these three lessons from the Bible, it's made me stronger in my self-development, and I've come out of difficult circumstances stronger because of these lessons from the Bible. And I believe that's what Dostoevsky is referring to when he says that following Christ is a call for spiritual adventure, but not spiritual mediocrity. When you live life mediocrely, and not through a high standard of living, high standard of lessons, principles to live by, to hold yourself accountable to, then it makes life kind of seem like a haze and not something worth more. Number 2, breaking the moral rule will break you. This is from his novel, Dostoevsky's novel, titled Crime and Punishment. And he states that this is one part of his book here. So, one person kills an elderly pawnbroker because he believes exceptional men can break moral rules. However, this action leaves the person in intense mental and spiritual pain. This fascinating tale paints a convincing picture of the unchanging nature of moral truth and the spiritual repercussions of transgressing it. The novel has been adapted in movies like Rope and The Machinist. So right here, the person in this novel, in Dostoevsky's novel, attempted to make an exception to the moral code or the moral rule because that person deemed themselves to be superior or exceptional and therefore above the law, above the moral code. But Dostoevsky is even saying, even if society or other people prove that that person is above the moral code, they themselves in their own minds, in their own psyche, in their own soul, that they know they did something wrong because they broke the moral code that they deemed suitable for everybody. And even themselves, consciously, even if they tried to play tricks with their mind, consciously saying that they did the right thing because they needed to be done, unconsciously they will always fall in the trap of knowing that they did something morally wrong. And breaking your moral code will break you. And I 100% agree with this. Anytime that I lie, anytime that I don't hold myself accountable, such as telling friends and family, loved ones to exercise and be a strong version of themselves, and when I don't hold my own end of the bargain in doing so and being a hypocrite, even though they do not see themselves, even though they don't see me being a hypocrite, I know by myself that I am being a hypocrite by not following through with the actions that I recommend to others. And therefore that makes me anxious. It makes me disappointed in myself. And that disappointment in myself is stronger than anybody else's disappointment in me, because I hold myself to a high standard. And I believe that's what Dostoevsky is referring to with the moral code breaking you. I think that's something that we should all be aware of. Number 3, love is love, but know it is cruel and horrible too. Wow, this is fascinating. Love in action is a harsh and awful thing compared with love in dreams. So this was in Dostoevsky's last novel, The Karamazov Brothers, which I mentioned earlier. Love in action is effort and courage, but love in dreams is greedy for quick action, rapidly completed, and in the sight of all. Love is the will of being able to do good for others and to be, which may be as hard-edged as it is challenging, so we shouldn't be unnecessarily sentimental about it. Knowing true love, the nature of true love, is one of the lessons taught by life. I fully agree with this, and I think Dostoevsky referring to love as in dreams being quick and greedy and rapidly completed, I believe a similarity to this in modern culture is Disney movies and fantasy movies and all those very Hollywood type films that use love as something as simple as people being attracted to each other and living a happily ever after life. But the reality is there's lots of hardships, there's lots of struggles with loving somebody, especially romantically, with ups and downs in life, making sure you see things not the same way, but you view life in a particular lens, and making sure that someone compatible for somebody else is following that sort of trajectory that you both see a similar vision with. And there's hardships and there's challenges that aren't seen in dreams, that aren't seen in films. And love can be a harsh thing. It can be a harsh reality. People go through breakups. People go through. Some people have affairs, and it destroys couples. It destroys one's self-esteem, their confidence, even self-esteem at times when there's a lot of investment in a relationship. And this can be both familial and romantically as well. And this is a lesson that I believe is critical for people to follow, that when anyone gets to a romantic relationship or when they develop a strong friendship with somebody else, there is risk for heartbreak, and that is something that people should be aware of when developing a relationship with another. And it takes courage to be vulnerable with that person, to share your intimate details of your life with them. And that's one of those things where I believe for a relationship to be at its best, that needs to be shared. But at the same time, it's a huge risk. And that's something that you need to think through yourself and be willing to take those steps and be ready for when that moment comes. So those are 3 lessons from the article of Psychology Truths. From the 7 lessons, I'm only going to discuss those 3. You can look through the rest of the lessons in the link below. Thank you for watching.